Hello, everyone, and welcome to the next installation of your personal brand bootcamp. I am really excited to hear how you guys have been doing with putting together your whys and your brand and the things that are important to you. We want to start hearing some of those goals, and I really hope that you've been working on your pitch. That pitch is so incredibly powerful when done correctly. When done incorrectly, it's probably going to scare the crap out of you. So I would love to hear from some of you that are the first joiners to the audience. Give me a thumbs up or give me some love if you've been able to practice your personal pitch over the past week. And did you get any feedback? Were people horrified? Or did you have some supportive friends? Straight horrified people? Perfect. The reason that having your pitch down pat is so incredibly important is it is the confidence in your voice and your ability to explain not only what you do, but why you do it that is so critical. All right, it looks like we've got a couple of folks that are trying to join in. So we're going to give them a couple of minutes to do so. For those of you that are having trouble joining, you can also find us live on our revolutionary page, and I'm going to put that in the chat right now. Give me just one moment. I want to make sure that we've got the whole crew happening. You should also be able to see me on our outward-facing page. If you're still having a challenge there, I'm going to blame it on Mark Zuckerberg, like I do most things in my life. Go ahead and give me a quick thumbs up as you are starting to pile in, and we're getting everybody on the same page here. Literally getting everybody on the same page as we start to go through what we need to create our personal brand website with. I'm curious to know how many of you have created a personal brand website. Yeah, maybe one or two. Let's start off with talking about the reason that having a personal brand website is so absolutely critical. There is a lot that you can communicate through your social media, and it is going to be where people go to really get that social proof. But especially for those of you that are in the creative medium, they want to see that you're able to put together an experience for people that truly communicates what it is that you do best. And here's the rub. That's often the hardest part, because sometimes we can be so close to it that we simply just can't even see the forest for the trees, right? Especially when it comes to ourselves. It's hard enough to do when you're a business owner. But if you are your business, then this is something that we're going to get good at, and we're going to get good at it really fast. Before I dive fully in here, I want to open up the floor to any specific questions that you may have that you would like me to address today. I also just realized I need to plug my computer in because I unplugged it accidentally. So pop those questions in there for me. What is it about your personal brand website that you want to make sure? Is it making sure that you've got the context down appropriately? Are you worried that it's going to make sense to you and nobody else? Which is absolutely a thing. There's a lot of trepidation that comes with talking about yourself in a way that can feel a little, I don't know, braggadocious. Anybody ever get a little nervous about the perception that may be out there when you're saying very, very nice things about yourself? We hear that one a ton. And I get it, right? I think we all get it. We've been taught since we were little to be humble, to not go around and show off. And if you think back when you were a kid, if you were that one that was outshining everybody else, it almost kind of put a target on your back. And it was an uncomfortable experience. That is something that we have got to say, okay, I see you. I understand why you're here to protect me. But in this instance, I really need to get good at talking about myself. I need to be able to tell people about my sheer badassery. And here's the magic in what happens when it turns into a website. It doesn't feel like you talking about you anymore. It gives it that switch in persona so that you can say, yeah, I won this award and this award and this award and this award. And by the way, I made this company this much money, and you can claim all of it. Just the other week, somebody brought up to me a comment that Simone Biles had made, that she'd won the most awards out of any athlete in her arena. And she got blasted for it. People were like that, why are you bragging? Like that, it's inappropriate to say. What's inappropriate about it? That's the truth. She did win the most awards. If anybody else wants to catch up, get on the stick. I'm not keeping you from doing anything. Let's make magic. Your personal brand and your personal website is exactly where you get to tell people not only where you've been, but where it is that you're going. There are some specific components that we want to make sure that you are including. And I'm going to do a little mea culpa. I wasn't able to finish all of the worksheets that I wanted to have for you guys today. But that doesn't mean that you're not going to get it directly after this Facebook Live. So where we need to start with this is when you are thinking about what you are going to how you're going to put together your personal brand site, you really need to take into account how you want to present yourself. And if you've been following along in this series, you've had an opportunity to identify what your strengths are, what your market differentiators are, what makes you unique. Those are the things that we want to bring forward. And we need to be able to wrap imagery around those things. So if you look back in your personal, your brand bootcamp workbook, your expression of differentiators and your voice should help you dictate and identify what your personal brand should feel like. So if your voice is polished and professional and mature, you probably don't want to have a bunch of pictures of kids at a concert as the first thing on your website. You want to pick a color palette that is really going to serve you. And that's where things like the tools that we're going to give you are going to help you pull those pieces together. So I'm going to bring you into my screen and I'm going to introduce y'all to one of my friends named Canva. Canva is probably one of the most powerful and easiest to use tools for you to be able to build a brand for yourself. And really where you want to start is in here in your brand in your brand kit space. You can see here that we've got many kits for our clients, but this is where you can start to look at what elements your brand must have. It is not necessary for you as an individual to have a brand logo. If you're a designer, I'm going to say, yeah, brand logo is a great idea. But if you're not a designer, this isn't a place that you really need to focus. But as you think about how you want to represent yourself, you want to be going through color palettes that are going to give that representation. And you'll notice that in each of these palettes, there are some colors that are similar, but there's typically something that is very bright and used for accent. You're going to have a color that is a lower tone that is going to make sure that people aren't bleeding from the eyes while they're on your site. And you want to pick something, and this is the vanity that comes up with marketing a little bit. Pick something that's complementary to your coloring. Don't pick something that, like, if I'm not going to look good in yellow, this is not a thing that I can pull off. Granted, every time I go shopping, I tell myself I'm going to put color in my wardrobe and I come home with everything in black and white. But if that's what it is, that's what it is. Pick something that is complementary to the types of clothing that you typically wear and what you would pick if you were going into a photo shoot, what they may expect to see you show up in at an interview. These things create anchors, those neuro-linguistic programming anchors that we never think about, but that are all around us. Things like the IBM blue. You know the colors of Google. You're going to be picking the colors that show off how they can expect to see you in real life. At every speaking engagement I've ever done, I have had the company colors somewhere in my wardrobe. It's a small thing, but when they see that color repeated over and over again, it creates a sense of trust. So don't pick a color you don't look good in. And identify a color palette, either one that's been recommended or one that you create yourself, that you're like, okay, I can see how this would really be a good direction for me to go. And I'm going to put in here red because it is somehow one of my custom colors. And I know that I like a really good poppy bright red. So we are going to go with Scrolling Forever. I'm not a pink person. I'm bold. I'm red. I know what I want. I'm going to go Varsity Rush. What this is going to do is as you start to build out your personal brand site, it's going to give you some guidelines so that it's not all over the place. Consistency is key. You also want to look at brand fonts. This is a place where, especially if you are a designer, you can get lost forever and ever and ever. But it's important. When you look at those super curated Instagram pages that are all blush pink and in a specific cursive, and sometimes you can tell they're all Canva templates, but you don't tell anybody because you're nice. Those things are put in that fashion so that it's creating consistency. If when you were doing your discovery about yourself, you decided that your voice or how you present yourself is more fun and more towards the creative side, pick something that makes you feel creative. But I'm going to give you a little bit of a warning. Make sure that it's something that people can read. If it is too far outside of the box, you risk alienating some of your potential audience. You should have a heading style for your big text, and then it'll give you recommendations for your sub-styles. Okay? So I'm going to say that this feels like me. I'm going to go ahead with this particular brand type. And now we can come in here to see what that looks like when we start to apply it to a variety of different products, right? So know that you can switch up the way that the colors lay out. You can always make sure that if you need to flip things out in here, you can choose that new iteration now, but make sure that it all feels congruous. That is one of the most critical points. And if you get absolutely lost, you can shuffle some stuff up and just see how it looks. You can also make some really great just initial pieces in here that help to spark your creativity. I am the kind of person that really needs to get that first couple of steps so that I can then run with the project. Make sure that you give yourself that first step. It is way too hard to try to create something from nothing. This is where Google becomes your best friend. Go out there and see what inspires you. See what jumps out, and then make it your own. From this space, you can come in here directly and build your entire website right inside of Canva. This is huge. No having to pay for WordPress, no having to pay for hosting and all of these other crazy things. You can put it right in here. And you can also look for examples of what a good personal branding website is. This may not be the direction that you want to go, but at least it's going to give you a head start. Once you've identified a few things that you find inspirational, you're going to be able to bring it into your palette, right? So if I come in here, and please tell me that it's saved, here's my brand. I can switch out all of this color for one that I like for me, right? So if you come in and you add pages from your template, and of course now it's going to mess with me. Every time you change that color, it will give you the option to change it across the entire site. Use that. Use that ability that Canva gives you to really create consistency. The next thing that you have to have, and this is a tough one for some people, so hang in there with me. You've got to have pictures of yourself. And they cannot be the pictures that you took at Burning Man. I know, I'm sorry. That's not what's going to sell you. You've got to have professional pictures. And if you are just getting started and this is kind of a new world for you, see who you can do some trade with. See if there is an opportunity for you to create that brand in trade for some of the work that you're doing. But before you walk in to get that photo shoot done, I'm going to encourage you to create yet another document to help you maintain your brands. You need to have a lookbook. A lookbook is going to give you and the photographer cues as to what it is we really want to capture from this particular shoot. What are the emotions that we want to go for? What's the style that you want to bring forward? And create a mood board for yourself. If you have a brand that's outrageous and powerful and savvy, find those. I like to go with usually alive celebrities that you can anchor to. For this particular client, man, she was pink all the way. She was raucous. She was out there. She had a little bit of edge, but a lot of grit and a lot of smarts. And so when we put this together for her, this gave not only some recommendations for poses that she could physically be in when she was on her shoot, but it gave the photographer the information they needed to prepare the studio for her and to make sure that they were getting the emotions that we wanted to see. Why is this part so critical? Oy. When we consider that body language is 55% of our ability to communicate, imagery on your website is your body language. 38% is tonality and only 7% is words. If you're a copywriter, yes, you have to have all the words, and they're great, but they're not everything. So how can you communicate your openness, your excitement, the unique values that you're going to bring to a situation through how you physically present yourself? I'm not going to say it's going to be easy, but there are a lot of times that you can pull some serious inspiration just from the things that you naturally like to convey. If you are somebody that tends to be jeans and a t-shirt, be jeans and a t-shirt with a little polish. But think about how your body is presenting to that camera. If everything has you closed off up here or looking away, you've made a body language communication statement to the people that are looking at your website. Making sure that you're open, that you're smiling, that you're playful, if that's your brand, incorporate those into your photo shoot. I know it seems like a lot, but this is what they are going to expect to see when you show up, either for a interview or for a sales conversation. The next thing is, guys, we've got to make sure that we're following some website best practices. If you're a professional speaker, you need a speaker page. If you're not a professional speaker, you need a portfolio page, or a page where you can list all of those credentials, all of those awards. Show off the amazing things that you've done. And every page needs to have a call to action above the fold. For those of you that are not used to putting together websites, above the fold means before you scroll down the first time. So whether it's join my newsletter or schedule an appointment, make sure that they don't have to scroll around to figure out how to get in touch with you. This is where you're going to lose people, and we don't want to lose them. If we got them to our page, we want to make sure they take the next step. As you start to get your website into shape and you've got your colors and you've got the feel down, now we've got to work on content. One of the big pieces that many people miss when they're putting together their personal brand site is they give great examples of what they've done, but they don't talk about the results or the impacts of that work. We know that no man is an island or woman. But if work that you did created massive impact, whether it was part of a bigger campaign or there were other people that helped you, you need to tell people that. Tell them, hey, I took a company from making $100,000 to $1.2 million in 8 months. Yeah, I had a team that helped me. But here's how my work impacted that journey. How much more exciting is that than a picture of you with the client that you helped and the logo that you made for them? Perception. People want to connect with results. If we're leaving results out of how we present ourselves professionally, we're leaving money on the table. And you're going to start to notice that you're leaving money on the table when you hear things like, everybody I've talked to has been much more expensive. Or, our budgets tend to be a little higher than that. That means that they've just moved you down to an economy brand. If you are not an economy brand, don't show up like an economy brand. I know that there are 47 different directions that you can take when it comes to how you present this. But the 3 most important things are showing yourself in a light that is polished and professional, but not overly glossed. Anybody ever go on a date from somebody that they met on an app, and that person doesn't quite look like they did on the app? As a matter of fact, they look like they signed up for that app back in 1982 and 45 pounds ago. It is not going to do you any good to put super photoshopped pictures of yourself out there because at some point, people are going to see your face. Unless you plan on making enough money between that photo going out and you showing up somewhere to get that amount of plastic surgery, skip it. Give yourself some light touch-ups and then be yourself. Authenticity is more important than being hyper polished any day of the week. The second thing to remember is simplicity. If your pages are 3, 5, 7 scrolls down, people aren't scrolling that far. Stick to your highlights. You can always add sublinks at the bottom or in the menu that says, here are my top 5 favorite XYZs, case stories, images, design concepts. Underneath that, here's another batch that I'm really proud of. Underneath that, here's some more examples of my work. Are you interested yet? If they want to go deeper, they'll go deeper, but give them the best first. And the third thing is that you've got to have a page that sells you. What are the factors about you that make you sellable? What are the things about you that make people want to engage? Typically, that's going to be the results or how incredibly adorable you are, but typically results. As you're talking about your achievements and your results, make sure there's a call to action there. If you'd like to see these kinds of results in your business, if you're looking for a photographer that can bring this out for you, contact me. Call now. Sign up for. Don't be afraid to ask them for the action, because without clear calls to action, people will not take action. Very rarely are people going to find your website through SEO search. Personal brand websites just don't need that kind of gravitas or searchability. So while having a good keyword strategy can help, it's more important that the copy reflects you. You want your readers to feel you when they're reading through that web copy, like they're having a conversation with you personally. So talk to them like you would talk to your clients. Make it about them. If you can read through your copy and it sounds like you're talking to your new best friend, you're on a great start. Consider what problems they're experiencing and why they would be reaching out to you in the first place. And talk about those things. This is also a great opportunity to ask questions to get them to self-identify. Have you experienced A, B, C? Now you've got an opportunity to tell a story. Now you've got an opportunity to show off some of those great successes that you've been curating and stacking up over the years. To bring this to a close, guys, your personal website should be different than everybody else's personal brand website. So even though you're working off a template, get creative. Put your flair into it. This is your opportunity to tell people what is most important to you and what a flaming badass you are. And if you don't feel like you're a badass at this point, you call me. I'll give you a pep talk. Because now you know what your brand is. You know how to pitch. You've got a website out there that is going to clearly communicate how sheerly awesome you are. the next thing we're going to do is get them to come in our direction. Please watch this channel for the final copy of the next section of your personal brand workbook. I really hope that you've been able to do the first parts of it, because the rest of this is not going to work unless you've got your personal brand defined and you know where you're going. And please make sure to mark it off on your calendar and join us next week for the final session of our personal brand bootcamp, which is becoming a self-promo pro. This is where we're going to take all of these little pieces that we've created and help you get them out into the world through networking, through social media, through authentic connections, and help you find people that share your values so that you can create the kind of life that you want to have, working with people that you enjoy and making the world a better place. Thanks again for joining our personal brand bootcamp. We love our revolutionaries and we're happy to have you every day of the week. Reach out and let us know what more you would like to see, what kind of content you want more of, and how we can be of service. From At Revenue, we say adieu.